This was sent to me by Caressing Me Night, and this is something I've already talked about before, and it's coming out of Florida. It just had to be Florida. And it's talking about how some teachers now are going to be able to carry a firearm on the school campus. Now, when I talked about it before, I believe it was just introduced to legislation, like it was just put out there as a suggestion. Well, now that suggestion is now becoming a reality because now they have pretty much passed something where now some schools are going to allow teachers to walk onto these campuses with firearms. The scary part about this is that some of these teachers are probably as trigger happy as the people that's probably coming into those schools, and some of them probably do not have the proper training to use a firearm. And let's not forget that Florida is a stand your ground state. Let me get into this article. It says teachers in certain Florida school districts are now allowed to carry firearms on school grounds due to a controversial state law that came to the heels of a school massacre. Notice that this is most likely going to happen in white schools or schools in predominantly white areas, mainly because they're the ones with that issue. You probably won't find it really in any predominantly black schooling zone. The measure stems from a hotly debated new law signed by Republican Governor Ron DeSantis in May, giving districts the option to arm teachers and security guards. The law was passed in response to the mass shooting at Marjorie Stoneman Glass High School in Parkland on February 14, 2018. 17 people were killed in the shooting spree. The law gives district the rights to opt into the Coach Aaron Fee's Guardian program. Fees was a Stoneman Douglas staff member who shielded students from a barrage of bullets and himself was fatally shot. The program designates teachers and security guards as guardians who respond to armed attacks on school campuses. Guardians are strictly volunteers who will receive a $500 stipend for their participation in the program. According to the Florida Department of Education, guardians must pass psychological and drug screenings and successfully complete a minimum of 144 hours of training. So they will have to take a training. Well, that's actually kind of good to know because first I thought they was going to just send them out there and they didn't know what to do. But at the same time, you never know which one might become a little trigger happy because you never know. What if one of them students decides to piss them off one day and they say, you know what, I'm about to go to my desk. Currently, 39 out of Florida's 67 counties have opted to participate in the program, including Broward County, where the Parkland episode occurred. Miami-Dade and Orlando have chosen not to take part. The Miami Herald reported nearly 1,100 school employees have elected to be armed statewide. The state doesn't track how many are teachers. Most Florida Democratic lawmakers opposed the bill, arguing it will allow more weapons into schools and put children at risk. Some family members of Parkland victims also oppose the legislation. Teachers should not be burdened whether they think they want to or not with the responsibility of worrying about carrying a firearm. Debbie Hickson, who lost her husband Chris, the school athletic director. Others said the bill would allow good guys to stop the bad guys. The bad guys will never know when the good guys are there to shoot back. Republican State Representative Chuck Brannon said after the bill's passing in May, the guardian is the last line of defense. He or she will be there when a police officer is not. Well, we will see how this is because they are just because they're just merely arming them. With a firearm. And what kind of gun is it? If it's a handgun, you got to think these mass school shooters aren't coming up in there with no handgun. They're coming up in there with military style weapons that can take them out faster, but then before they are able to pull the trigger on their gun, unless they are that good. So it's a lot of factors that have to be taken into consideration with this type of thing. But all I got to say is I'm glad that I don't live in Florida. I'm glad I don't go to school in Florida. So, but you never know. This might transcend and become nationwide. But like I said, this is most likely happening at predominantly white schools. Y'all let me know what y'all think about this down in the comments, and I'll talk to you in the next one.